Hello everyone and welcome back to the Beyond the Big Six YouTube channel. I just caught Jimmy there having a nice swig of a protein shake. Was that there?
Creatine, mate. Creatine and
Okay,
pre-workout.
excellent. So this is the pre-workout before a real
Yeah, I'm,
workout.
I'm, get, I'm getting energized for the gym talking football with you, mate.
Yeah, well we are. We're going to talk a lot of football today. We're going to be basically making the case for how each newly promoted team survives this season. The Premier League starts tomorrow as we record this. We are 36 hours away pretty much from kickoff as we record this, of Arsenal hosting Coventry, which is going to be an interesting one to see how that goes. But yeah, we're going to go through them all. We're going to go through Hull, we're going to go through Ipswich, we're going to go through Coventry and sort of figure out a world in which they stay up. We're going to go through the pros, go through the cons of where they are right now. So we'll start with Hull. And for Hull, the big pro that I have written is the manager, Sergei Kirovic. Last season, defied the odds. Hull were expected to get relegated. Most bookies, I think, had them second or third favourites, and that includes Sheffield Wednesday, who obviously had a massive points deduction, ended up finishing on 0. So last season completely defied the odds. They had a transfer embargo, and he took a team that survived on the final day of the previous year, got them promoted. The underlying data was beaten, so he's proven that they can beat XG for and against, and that style of play that he has should translate well to the Premier League. You know, being defensively solid, trying to hurt teams on the counter-attack. It's very similar to how Sunderland approached it last season, very similar to how Leeds approached it once they figured it out in December. So for me, the manager at Hull is the biggest asset that they've got. Would you agree?
Yes. All 100%. He's a wonderful, wonderful manager. He's got everything you want to see from a football manager. He's tactically astute. He's a great man manager, but he's got a great personality as well. He's very, very easy to buy into as a neutral fan as well. No, I'm saying this as the loser of the playoff final against Hull City. But yeah, he done a wonderful, wonderful job. There's not a chance that Hull City should have been anywhere near the promotion picture last season. They really shouldn't. But when they did make some signings, they were very, very astute. They're very, very good. You look at the likes of Ollie McBurney coming in on a free last season. How other clubs weren't all over him with his track record in the Championship, it beggars belief. It really does. Well, Joel Gerhardt came in on loan, played either wider or number 10 and chipped in with 14 goals. So you had everyone playing out of their skin. And you got some players who would not have been fancied as well. Like, Tommy Coyler's a captain. He's your classic Championship workhorse fullback. He'll run through a brick wall for you, but lacks quality at times. But he had him playing out of his skin. There was games I saw him play last season. I thought, how has he managed to get him playing at that level? There's players I'd seen playing for Middlesbrough in regard to Matty Crooks, who always had a good game in him, but consistency last season, I thought he was fantastic for Hull City. So he's a wonderful, wonderful man manager. And I guess the selfish thing on his perspective, he can look after the season, Conrad. If Hull make a good showing but don't stay up, he should be eschewing for a Premier League job for the following season. He really should be, or a top flight job somewhere else in one of the top leagues. He's that good for me. He really is. But they overperformed, and you look at likes of the overlaps, fans panel, and things like that. For the key date of Hull were bottom. Regard to chances conceded and chances missed and things like that. But at the end of the day, because I love data, I think it's fantastic. The data that mattered was they got enough points to get in the playoffs, they won the semi-final, they won the final, and now they've got to give themselves a fantastic opportunity to play top-flight football when it wasn't expected. But also, with the opportunity, I think they've attacked the transfer window pretty well, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they've added, let's go through their business. They've added Butland, who'll be a number 2 goalkeeper, but still a pretty decent number 2 goalkeeper, lots of experience. Zambrano, who they had on loan last season, is a permanent. They brought in Matt Target at left back, who's, I think, a pretty solid sign. Look, would Target get into many other Premier League teams? Probably not, but that isn't to say that he doesn't have the quality to play as a Premier League fullback. I really like the sign.
He'll play bottom half of mid-table, wouldn't he, mate? Like you'd say, he's a Premier League fullback. There's no denying that. But yeah, he's not going to get you in Europe, but he's got giving you a good chance of surviving, isn't he?
Yeah. Marita, the Japanese central midfielder, I feel like that's a really, really good bit of business for Hull.
Yeah.
Tslakis, I hope I said that right, the goalkeeper, that's one of their big signings. Hurdo Dahl, Stroud came in, Harrington and Mendy at centre-back. I really like the sign of Mendy. He came from La Liga, and I think we looked at his data the other day in our transfer thing, and he looks pretty good. Gunnar Duath has come in central midfield as well, and Joe Gelhardt's come in, and look, They need some. They still need key additions. The starting 11 I look at and I still think it's not amazing. I'm guessing they're going to line up with a bit of a 4-3-3 this season with Coyle at right back, Mendy and Harrington centre back, Target left back. Then in the midfield it'll be Dahl, Marita and Gona Doath. And then on the wings, I'm guessing Balumi will probably start the season. Ollie McBurney, they've still not added anyone at that centre forward position, and Stroud on the left. But I'm concerned about the centre forward area. While Hull fans love Ollie McBurney, so they should. He scored the goal that got them the Premier League. Look, is he going to score 8 Premier League goals this season? No. I mean, let's be honest.
No. Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be over-reliant on goals coming from elsewhere in the team, aren't they? You look at I know you put like a potential 1-11. There's probably a few changes I'd make on that one, but yeah, I think what they've done there, they've went and got a good. I think they went for good, solid, athletic players along with some experience there as well. There's 1 or 2 players that have a decent ceiling. The Harrington, for example. 18-year-old who's coming for big money. They're probably looking for him to really kick on and do some good things to them. Zalakis, I think, as a goalkeeper, could potentially come and have a fantastic season in the Premier League and could move on to more money as well. Yeah. Oh, he definitely will be busy. I think all promoted sides, all the keepers are going to feel that. But what an opportunity to come to the Premier League and really showcase what he can do as well. Because quite often you do find goalkeepers that have a really good season, relegated side will go and get a decent move elsewhere. Even some bad ones like Ramsdale do as well. So there's an opportunity there. There is an opportunity there for these players to come and show what they can do. But I do think there's goals need to be had in. And Gelhardt can get you goals from wide, but again, I think he's going to get you 6 to 8 maximum in the Premier League. And I think like Ollie McBurney may get you 8 to 10, may get you 8 to 10, but I just don't think that's going to be enough. So the centre forwards available in Joe Piro's been linked with move to West Ham, for example.
That's done.
Is that done now, is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say because he'd have been a really good signing for Hull City, I think. So there's going to be players moving around who can get you that. I'd say you need 10 to 12 from promoted side from the centre forward. There'll be a centre forward there that Hull can go and get. Nothing against McBurney. I think he's really, really good. I think he will be a good second choice striker for Hull City, but they need to get someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to score, at a minimum, 40-ish goals to have any chance, and that means that you've got to have a strong defence. Is Hull's defence strong enough at the moment? Look, with Coyle playing right back, it's no disrespect to him, I just don't think that he's a Premier League fullback.
He's not, mate. No, he's not. And I think deep down Hull City will know that as well. But I think he's one of those signs that will start the Premier League for them, Connor. But I think as the transfer window gets close, there'll be a right back come available, and Hull will just go and snap them up, whether it's a loan or a decent wedge on, and it'll be one of them.
Yeah, and then again, I think a centre forward needs to come in, and I think they've talked that. I think they've been linked with Isidore at Sunderland. That was the one that came out the other week.
Great signing for them.
Yeah, Sunderland have said he's not available, but we'll see. You never know. A player could become available, and I also think they need a general forward player. I think that you can never have too much attacking quality, and I think adding a bit more attacking quality to the team. The manager came out after the last pre-season game with the drew 0-0 and said they need forward additions, so they know the areas that they need to target. And yeah, I think if they can address and bring in a solid right back, I don't mind the centre back options. Although it's a shame that Charlie Hughes is injured, and he's going to be out for a decent amount of time. But I think defensively that they're not in a horrendous place. The midfield is a gamble because they brought in so many new faces, but on the face of it, it's not too bad. It's just that they need more goals in the team. So I think they need to bring in a right back, a striker, and then another sort of general forward who can play on the wings or through the middle. That's where I'm at with it. So if they bring them 3 in,
bit of pace.
Yeah, maybe they'll have a bit of a chance.
Something dangerous with pace. Adama Traore is still available on a free transfer, and he has. He's been linked with Middlesbrough, been linked with a few Championship clubs. But again, if you're thinking of someone who can come on and just be dangerous with pure pace, his end product can sometimes be lacking. I think an Adama Traore would be a good sign for Hull City.
I would agree, mate. I would agree. I think that he would be an ideal bit of business. If we look at the fixtures, first 10, Man United at home. In a way, it's a free hit, as they would say, isn't it? So, if they go against Man United and get anything, that's a positive. I think as long as they don't get absolutely battered, I think that they'll probably come out of that feeling all right. The big one's obviously Coventry, second game of the season.
Yeah.
And if they can go to Coventry and get a positive result, then that puts a nail in a relegation rival already, because Coventry will be going, wow, we've lost against the weakest team in the league. And everyone views Hull, unfortunately for Hull fans, but everyone views them as the weakest team in the league. So that Coventry game, match day 2, is significant. But I do think Hull's fixture list is not the kindest. It's Villa at home after that. Then they've got Chelsea away, and Newcastle away up to the first international break. So that Coventry game just feels significant, because all the other games are very, very difficult. They've got 2 Champions League teams in there, and then Chelsea and Newcastle, who are teams that have aspirations to finish in the sort of top 6 or 7.
Yeah, if one of Chelsea or Newcastle was at home, you would have given them a bit more of a fighting chance. But and I don't like saying this, I really don't, because I like Hull City and I really want them to do well. But there's a real possibility they could be going into international break, Connor, with 0 points, which ain't very good. They'll give themselves a fighting chance in all the home games. They really, really will. But again, when you play Manchester United and Chelsea as your first home games for the international break, sorry, Aston Villa, not Chelsea, like you say, 2 Champions League sides who have aspirations of doing really, really well this season. But yeah, it's a possibility it could go with 0 points. I hope that's not the case, but we will find out very, very soon.
I think if we're looking at it from a positive, can they get 4 points from the first 5 games? Can they get a win? Can they get a win at Coventry and then get a draw from? Look, you're looking at Villa at home, probably Newcastle away. Can you get a draw from one of them 2 games? And I think if they were able to get 4 points, I'd feel pretty bullish about them, because then the next 5, Everton at home, Fulham away, Brentford at home, Ipswich at home, Arsenal away. So you're looking at that run of 4, Everton at home, Fulham away, Brentford at home, Ipswich at home. 3 or 4 home games, all against winnable teams. You've got a chance there. That's where you put your marker down for the season. If you can get from that run of 4, if you can get 7 or 8 points, you've given yourself a little bit of a chance.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. And them after the international break and next 3 home games of Everton, Brentford, and Ipswich. And I say there's a real possibility you could have 0 points going into international break. There's a real possibility you could have 9 points from them games as well. I mean, you could be looking at even 10 points from them run of games there. They win the home games and get a draw away at Fulham. Because let's be honest, not going to get anything at Arsenal, are they? So, again, let's say you get 0 points in them, but they earn 10 points. You take 10 points at that position. So, again, it's... But what you would like to hope for Hull City is not going into that international break on 0 points. Like you say, even if they've got 2 points and there's 2 really, really good draws, ones that show they've got a bit of fighting spirit about them, they can compete, they don't get battered by anyone, they can go into the second part of that season on a bit of confidence and go and attack them games, especially the home ones.
And I think as well, what I like with Hull, final 7 games, all winnable. You've got Coventry at home, Spurs away, which is difficult, but Spurs have been a basket case the last couple of years, so to look at Spurs and think immediately they're going to be good, I don't necessarily buy that. But anyway, Spurs away is the hardest one in there. Then we've got Bournemouth at home, Everton away, Fulham at home, Brentford away, and then they finish with Newcastle at home. Those
relegation
7 games...
Fight that one, innit?
Yeah.
6 point relegation, 6 point Newcastle at the end.
It could be. But those 7 games that they've got there, if Hull are sat on 30 points heading into that period... They've got a chance. They've got to win 3 of those games, potentially. But if they are within touching distance heading into that last period, that fixture list is really, really kind, because you've got 4 home games there. Newcastle, Fulham, Bournemouth and Coventry. That all feel winnable. Bournemouth could well be targeting Europa League. They could be busy. They could be in a Europa League semi-final and putting all their eggs in that basket. So you've got a real opportunity there to pick up potentially 3 or 4 home wins to end the season, which could propel you into that safety, bracket. So I think with Hull, they're probably going to be in the bottom 3 all season. I think that if they are to survive, it's probably going to be a lovely run at the end of the season. It's probably going to be a case of almost a great escape where they do manage to pick up 3 or 4 wins from the last 7 games, which would be miraculous.
I think you say about that run, I think that's very key in regards to how Hull's fixtures seem to come in chunks of that's tough. Do you know what? That's a good run. So, but like you say, that final run, I think if they're on 30 points, to be fair, Connor, by that point, they're staying up. I think you stay up on 35 points this season. So if they're on 30 points by the time they come to them final 7 games, I think, that the odds on to stay up. But Yeah, that final seven, if they go and pick up 9 points off that, there's a good chance they're staying up, mate. There's a big opportunity for them with it, but we will soon find out.
Yeah, I mean, what I would also say for Hull fans is that as a Sunderland fan, we were in that position last summer. Everyone was writing Sunderland off, saying, they're never going to do. Yeah, they've brought Xhaka in, but they're going to struggle. They'll be in the bottom three. And Sunderland defied the odds. So there's no reason why, if you're a Hull fan, why you can't think, do you know what, maybe we can defy the odds. Maybe you'll not finish seventh, but, we can defy the odds. I mean, when Hull first came in the Premier League, I presume you remember it with Giovanni and all those
I do, yeah.
lads back in the day. They completely defied the odds, had an amazing run at the start of the season, won away at Arsenal, won away at Tottenham, and they were a wonderful story for sort of 6 months. I'm not saying that'll happen again, but Hull have done this before. They've done the defying the odds. Who's to say they can't do it again?
Yeah, and like the first point you make, the big reason they can do that is the manager.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. Ipswich Town. So Ipswich, look, I've made no secret of it. I've liked what they've done in the market, and being brutally honest, they're the ones that I'm looking at, and I think have got the best chance of the three of staying up. But we'll go through it all now. Squad improvements in terms of players they've brought in, and Ciso, that's the big one they've got in. Spent 30 million on him. Emerson, centre forwards coming from Toulouse. Fatawa's coming from Leicester. Itara's coming from Strasbourg, right back. Florentino Luis is coming from Burnley. Sasa Lukic and Issa Diop have come in from Fulham. Sherbenz came in, the goalkeeper, and Dyson Maida has also came in. So look, I'm looking at that there, and I agree with you. My concern is the centre forward position, but everyone else they brought in, I think, improves the quality of the team, and it raises the floor of this team, quite a bit. They brought in players that are of a decent experience. They've not really taken any risks on young players, which maybe that can be a problem, but I think Leeds last season proved that going for experience and physicality can help you in the Premier League. And look, the team looks far better than the one that they had last time they were in the Premier League, and Ipswich struggled desperately last time they were in the Premier League. So if I was an Ipswich fan, I'd be feeling much better this time around than I was last time around.
And speaking about it, you spoke Benjamin Bloom, didn't you, the other day, in regards to obviously big Ipswich Town fan. How is he feeling about the potential for this season?
I think he's got a little bit of PTSD, like from when they were last in the Premier League, because of how brutal it was for them. So I think he's under no illusions that it's going to be really, really difficult, and the chances are Ipswich get relegated. But I think he's also a bit of a pessimist. I think because last time it was so brutal, and I get that as a Sunderland fan who's yo-yoed previously, you get to the point where when you come up, you're almost dreading being up there, and I think that's probably how he feels. But yeah, I didn't get a massive feeling from him that he was feeling overly positive and sort of thinking Ipswich would stay up. But I think he does think they've got a chance. But I get it from that perspective, because fundamentally, I had said to him, I think Fulham might drop in, and then he was like, well, yeah, but we've brought two players from Fulham that you say that you like, and Fulham are happy to let them go to Ipswich. He's like, so that shows the difference in squad, doesn't it? And it's very difficult to argue with that.
Somebody else said that as well the other day, Con, if you remember.
Yeah,
right?
I think some baldy guy.
But it's a fair point, and Benjamin knows what he's talking about, but I would say that. No, but one thing that you say about Ipswich Town is that they needed to make a lot of improvements. The fact that they finished second in the Championship on 84 points shows just how poor that division was last season. And Ipswich weren't great, but they got promoted, and they got promoted fairly comfortably, let's be honest, on 84 points. Usually you need to get 90 points to finish second in the Championship. But they've added some decent quality. Fatawa, I think, is a really good player. I do like Cisco's up at the signing. I think Florentino, we were both like, I don't know about that one, but look at his defensive contributions in midfield for a team that's going to be defending quite a lot, and he can move the ball forward quickly. Seems like a good player. Lukic in midfield can get in the way of stuff. Diop, just an out defender. I do like the sign of Maeda. I really, really do. The only question is, I don't know whether they're going to play Maeda let's say your survival specialist manager Gary O'Neill goes with a 4-2-3-1. Is he going to play Maeda in one of the positions behind the striker, or play him as a centre forward? Personally, for me, I'd go as a centre forward and try and have another decent striker to come on and can maybe pick up them once he's tired people out, because he's a complete workhorse. He's not the best finisher in the world, but he's clever. His movement's fantastic. He's horrible to defend against. and he will work all day. So if you're getting 70 minutes out Maeda and you're trying to hit people on the break after that one, and they've got a tight defence, that could be a good tactic for Ipswich Town moving forward. But the one sign I don't like, and I was pretty obvious with it when it was announced, was that Emerson is a centre forward. I just for £23 million, I just don't see what they've seen. There's not a lot of football for him, so that's the only worry. But like the whole City, I think they do need another striker. But I'll be going for Maeda up front ahead of Emerson personally.
See, I think if I look at this from Sunderland are playing Ipswich first game of the season. If you were to tell me that Maeda's playing on the wing, that would worry me more. Whereas I think if you were to play him at centre back, I would look at like Sunderland centre backs and go, they will dominate him physically. Like if you've got Nordy Mukiele,
I don't think they will.
But if you've got a player like Nordy Mukiele who's fast, he's lightning quick and strong against Maeda, in theory he should deal with that well. Whereas if you put Maeda against a fullback, I think he's going to have a much better time of it, personally. So
I see your point, but I just think he can be more dangerous in that position. Like I don't think there's a defender that will enjoy defending against Maeda.
No, I don't think they will. I think he's a pain in the arse.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So anyway, I think that Ipswich, look, I like the team. I think last time they were in the Premier League, they had a nightmare with their goalkeeper. I think they've addressed that with Sherpen. I like that. I think if you look at the back, I mean, I've got what I'm going to be their guest 11. And if you're an Ipswich fan, let me know if I'm wrong on this. But my guest 11 would be Sherpen, Leif Davis at fullback, Diop in O'Shea at centre back. I wasn't sure O'Shea or Greaves, but O'Shea is the captain, so I'm guessing O'Shea will get a run in. With Tara, who they've just brought in from Strasbourg, the right back. Then Florentino, Luiz, and Lukic at the heart of that midfield, and then a front four of Maeda and Ciso, Fatawu, and Emerson, which means that Philogene, who's still there, I'm not sure if he's going to be in the team. Jack Clark, I don't know if he'll be there, but he's an option off the bench.
He's been linked with a move away, Jack Clark, hasn't he? Apparently, he's been offered to the Championship.
Be a great sign for anyone in the Championship.
100%, yeah. Any Championship club gets in, they've got a huge asset. He top scorer again last season for Ipswich Town, I believe.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Striker's a big problem for me. Emerson is that who you're relying on? Who's not got a great record? He's young. He's a project player. Probably 2-3 years he might be good. Do they need to bring in a experienced body up there? Because if you look at what Leeds did, Calvert-Lewin came in. That was massive for them. Sunderland were able to bring in Bromley, who obviously was massive for them, and was able to, help them defy the odds. So, is Emerson the guy you want to rely on for 38 games? Maybe they don't. Maybe Maeda's going to play up there. They're not going to play George Hurst. Looks like he's going to Stoke. So they need to address, I think, the centre forward position. And I'm guessing from now at the end of the window, that'll be the main thing, the target.
And I still can't believe that Joe Pirro is like obviously got the Championship on this one, because both them, we just spoke about Hull City now, it's just Town. Joe Pirro walks into both them sides.
He's not a great player though in the Premier League.
Well, mate, he didn't exactly start, did he? There's an opportunity for him there to go and show he can do it. It's hard to judge him on the Premier League if he hasn't played.
I think Peru. I think he lacks the physicality to play in the Premier League. I think he's not pacey, which is a problem.
No, he's not. No, but he's just a centre forward. He gets goals. So if you got Maeda, who is doing that hard stuff for you, you want someone who's just going to put the ball in the back of the net. Joe Pirro works.
Maybe. Either way, it's not happening because he's went to West Ham. Yeah. Manager, look, we're disagreed on this, but he's managed at the level. He's had 2 survivals in there. Some may say he's a survival specialist, some may not. But
some shouldn't be drinking this early in the morning.
But if I've got one worry, replacing Kieran McKenna is difficult. That's a stable manager who everyone loves. It reminds me a lot of, I'm not saying he is Pep Guardiola, but it's that sort of thing where you've got somebody in there who's sort of everyone loves, everyone knows what's happening, and you change it, it's going to be very difficult for a new man to come in. So I am a bit concerned. The man, isn't it? Yeah, I'm concerned.
How many times following the man? It's the difficult job. We saw that when Moyes at Manchester United on the biggest scale of it, but it is difficult. A big fan of Kieran McKenna. I think what he's done with Ipswich Town with the I'd say the resources he's had available has been nothing short of miraculous. I would have liked to see what he did with this budget. to be honest, at Ipswich Town. But by all accounts, he was knackered, wasn't he? So he just needs some time off. But I know we disagree on Gary O'Neill, but he has managed at this level. He's had what can only be deemed as relative success. I don't think he's good enough to keep them up, though.
Well, we'll see throughout the season. Because I've got Ipswich. Have you got Ipswich staying up?
No. I've got the bottom three. I've got these three going down, mate.
Oh, okay.
You've got Ipswich staying up, haven't you?
Yeah, so there we are. That's the big that's the big bet for the season. Fixtures. We'll look through them. They start with Sunderland at home. They then have a tricky run up to the break. They've then got to go to Man United. They've got Liverpool at home. They've got Palace away and Everton away. So, I think if they don't win on the opening day against Sunderland, I think they're probably getting into that international break without a win. Obviously, you can't go to Everton and Palace and get a result. They're not insurmountable games. They're not games where you're like, oh, I'm scared. But they're going to struggle at Man United. They're going to struggle against Liverpool at home. And then Palace away and Everton away, they are the underdogs for.
Of course, yeah.
So Sunderland at home, if they can get a win there, that probably sets them up nicely heading into the rest of that period. And then after the international break, they've got Fulham at home, City away, which will be difficult. But then they've got Forest at home, Hull away, and Bournemouth at home. So a bit like Ipswich, you've got one proper winnable game in your first 5, and then you've got a nice run of potentially 4 out of 5 that you can win.
Yeah, realistically, I think Ipswich Town will want 4 points off that run before the international break, but I think they'd probably take 2. If they got a draw at home against Sunderland and a draw at one of either Palace or Everton, they go, do you know what? That's not bad. That's not bad. It gives us something to build upon. Whereas a lot of pressure will then go. It's sometimes it can be too much pressure and have too much time to think about. But that home game against Fulham, again, a team that a lot of people think are going to struggle this season. There'll be a big target on that game of being a win. The fans will be up for it. The players will be up for it. All the media will be saying, no, this is a big opportunity for Ipswich Town, especially if they haven't got a win by that point as well. So I hope that doesn't overawe them and they don't, and they end up falling short of it, because that's a big winnable game. But realistically, Connor, they could get 4 points off them first runs before they fancy the chance against Sunderland of beating them at home, and they will fancy a chance to get a point at either Palace or Everton. But like you say, Man United away is going to be tough for them. Liverpool at home, the crowd will be up for it. Portland Road's a good atmosphere, and the players will certainly be up for it. But Liverpool should have too much for them. But going to either Palace or Everton, they'll fancy a chance of getting a smash and grab point.
And then finish the season. They've got Palace, Sunderland, Newcastle, Leeds, Fulham, Forest, and Everton in the last 8 games. So very similar to Ipswich. You've got winnable games, which is exactly what you want.
You want it, don't you? You want. There's an argument of both. Whereas like you'd rather have the points early doors, and I think you probably would. But you also look at that one. It's like if we've still got a fighting chance with them, like last few games. You've got a good chance of staying up. Let's say you're on 25 points by that point. Do you know what? We can do that. We can absolutely do that. We can stay up here. Let's give ourselves a fighting chance. But they need to have some decent form or confidence going into that final run. Otherwise, all of them sides may well have some. Newcastle might be fighting against relegation, or might be fighting for Europe. Leeds fighting for Europe. Fulham could be fighting against relegation. Forest, we don't know. Everton could be fighting relegation. Palace could be. So if all them teams have got something to fight for as well, it means they are even tougher games than they could be. So I think Ipswich need to be in a good position to give themselves a fighting chance going into them games.
You want to be, I think, if you're on 30 points on 30 games, and if you're Ipswich and Hull looking at their fixtures, you've got a chance then. You've got a real
if you're
good
on 30
chance.
points by that point, similar to Hull, I think you're staying up, mate. I really do. You're staying up on 35 this season. Yeah, I think they've got to be on. If they can be in 25 by that point and they're in some kind of decent form, they've got themselves a fighting chance. Yeah. If they're at 30 points by that point, mate, they're staying up.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think personally, if you get 38, you'll be all right. I think 38.
Yeah.
Because if you get one of them established teams down, unless they have an absolute stinker like Wolves, they are going to be able to pull up 35 to 40 points, and that's what you got to do. You got to finish above them. Mm-hmm. Anyway. We shall move on to Coventry, the final team, the championship winners. And I actually think it's quite fun that it's the championship winners against the Premier League winners. I hadn't really thought about that.
It's nice, that, isn't it? Yeah. Now you said that, mate. Yeah, it's not right, that, isn't it?
Maybe we should have a trophy for it. Maybe every season the championship winners should play the Premier League winners first, and they win an English Super Cup or something.
That's a good idea, that.
Yeah,
they should do that League Cup against FA Cup, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah, you could do that. I suppose the problem is with League Cup v FA Cup is if it's won by the same team, what happens then?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll
Yeah,
do a
that's
show on
fine.
that if people want us to. Yeah, put in the comments. You want to do a show on that? We'll do that. We'll plan it out for the FA. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Anyway, Coventry City. Look, terms of transfers in, Onyeka's came in, who they had last season, but good central midfielder. I think he can play in the Premier League, no problem. Chichonas came in from Burnley, right winger. Emenda at centre back, who I really like, has came in. Rushworth in goal. I think that's a decent option. I think he's good for the Premier League. Urenkia, who's central midfielder, they brought in. Hamas came in from Sheffield United. Awanyi and Sheriff have came in as two new centre forwards, which straight off the bat, what I would say is that Coventry have got more goals than the other two teams. And
yes, without a doubt.
when I was putting this run sheet together, that is the thing that struck me, because I've talked about how much I like Ipswich's business, but who would I rather have up front? And I'd rather have Coventry's forward line every day of the week. Coventry's forward line. And that for me is the sole reason why, if I was a Coventry fan, I would feel like we've got the best chance of all the new promoted teams. And I've almost convinced myself yesterday. I've still stuck with Ipswich being the most likely, but I almost convinced myself that actually it's probably Coventry.
Well, do you know what? You look at it again, the business, because I've been with you. Ipswich Town done the best business, but what Coventry done well, if you look at this, pretty simply, they haven't focused too much on creativity and things like that, but they went for a very physical spine. So, obviously, Rushworth, it's not an improvement on the team from last season, but he was arguably the best keeper in the Championship last season. Yeah, they've put a lot of money into it, and I personally think too much, but hey-ho, might work out well. I think Urenki's a really, really good signing, a super physical player. I think he can go on to do some really, really good things as a footballer. Awanyi, as we know, is a handful for defenders in the Premier League. He's never going to be prolific, but what he did at Nottingham Forest, and especially in their first survival season, he got some big goals and big moments for that side. He doesn't seem to be someone who kind of like buckles under the pressure. Yeah, there's a reason he lost his place to Chris Wood eventually. He's not prolific enough, but will he have enough to help Coventry stay in the Premier League? Absolutely. When you say, got Sheriff who's come in, again, we don't know an awful lot about him, but again, it's a good addition. But Haji Wright already is there, who on his day, Haji Wright is a pain to defend against, and he can score goals from nothing as well. So they've already got elements there. It probably means Ellis Sims is probably surplus the requirements of Coventry City now as well. So again, but if I'm Hull City, do I go and get Ellis Sims to bring some extra firepower into that squad? Maybe. No, Frank the Tank Onyeka, really good central midfielder. He's good enough for a relegation scrap in the Premier League for sure. So there's some good additions there. Emenda, again, improving that spine at centre-half. So where other teams went for, how do I create a little bit more maybe? Coventry City, well, I believe we will create chance. We create enough chances. We just need to improve that spine. They went for athleticism. So where we've all been waxing lyrical about Ipswich Town, maybe Coventry's business has been a little bit smarter.
Yeah, potentially. I still think they need to add a centre-back, a left-back and a winger. And I think my concern, if I've got one, which I suppose I do for all these teams, because I think that they're all going to be towards the bottom end of the league. I worry about leaking goals. I worry about as well. Look, Frank Lampard is a proven manager in relegation scraps. He's done it at Everton. I think he's smart. I think he's proven a lot of doubters wrong with what he's done at Coventry. When he went in there, they were struggling. He nearly got them, last season. The season before, they lost the playoffs. They were good. Very easy, could have beaten Sunderland. Then this season, they've absolutely walked the league. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I have concerns about Frank Lampard, because I don't. But I do worry about whether or not he'll adapt his style quick enough, because if they approach the Premier League like they did the Championship last season, they will get eaten alive. If he changes them to a bit more of a pragmatic approach, much more defensive, can they hit teams on the counter-attack? I thought last season Coventry were susceptible to getting caught on the counter-attack. I thought that was the one area they were weak. They were maybe pushing a little bit too much, as they should, as the best team in the Championship, but that's the worry. I presume Frank Lampard will know all of this and will bring a different approach to the Premier League, whereby they'll know that instead of being the team with 60% of the ball, they're going to be the one with 40% this time. I think he'll know all of that, and I think he'll have them prepared for that. But that is a concern, that they will maybe try and do the things they did last season, and I just don't think that'll work. If you look at Leeds last season, Leeds had to change their style of play to give themselves a chance of staying up. Daniel Farke did it in just enough time. He did it in December. I think that Frank Lampard's probably smart enough to have worked that out, but that would be a concern for me, is if they do try and approach it like they did the Premier League, the Championship.
And do you know what? I'm going to counter out that one, because when Coventry were playing the better sides in the Championship last season, they changed their tact. They did. So
Didn't they struggle, though? And wasn't their record against the top teams in the Championship bad last season?
Well, certainly not against Middlesbrough, mate.
Well, you're not a top team.
When they beat us at home at Coventry, we were top of the league, my friend.
That's
But
true.
what they did against teams who were better footballing sides, yeah, they were happy to give the other team the ball and hit them on the break. And had you right, playing off the shoulder is an absolute menace. And you've got the likes of Rodoni, Sorba Thomas, who can always be dangerous in that kind of position as well. They prove themselves to be a very, very good counter-attacking team. And I think Frank Lampard has learnt enough about his side and his ability to manage a team differently to think, I will approach this differently. And I do think Coventry City are going to go into it. You look at the signings they've made as well. They've got moments players like Harmer coming into the squad, but they've went for players who were about athleticism, who were about trying to hit people on the break and just trying to make themselves a little bit more solid. And then, you're not going to get a better moment striker, I think, for somebody who can be an absolute menace and grind defenders down and score a goal in a big moment better than a Wanyi. So I think the Coventry's business screams that they know they have to approach it differently against the better sides. Whereas they were the best side in the league last season, they were happy to relinquish ball against lesser sides, and good footballing sides, to try and hit them on the break, because I think that just showed the maturity of Frank Lampard as a manager. It really, really did.
I have had a look, and last season they didn't beat Hull. They didn't beat Ipswich. They got beat off Ipswich twice. They did the double.
Yeah.
They didn't beat Southampton either, so they did have a bit of... They did do the double, obviously, over Middlesbrough, but again, I don't know where we view Middlesbrough in that. The defeated playoff finalists and semi-finalists.
The times they played Middlesbrough, Middlesbrough were one of the best side in the league. But yeah, they are happy to relinquish the ball, and I think I think a lot of what Coventry City will have done. Again, it's Frank Lampard. You mentioned he's learnt as a manager, and he's proved a lot of doubt was wrong at Coventry City, because that squad of Coventry wasn't the best squad in the Championship last season. It just wasn't. Southampton, player for player, were levels above Coventry City, but Coventry just found themselves a way of winning games, and sometimes it was with the ball, sometimes without the ball, and then managed to get momentum. And everything Frank Lampard did as a manager last season just showed how much he has matured.
Yeah.
He managed to keep them going well in momentum, but then they went through a really sticky patch beginning of the calendar year, but he managed to turn that round again. And he turned that round, getting a win against Middlesbrough, who were top of the league at the time, and Middlesbrough going into that game just beat Sheffield United away, who were the form team in the Championship at the time. Then Middlesbrough became the form team in the Championship. Frank Lampard found a way of beating an in-form Middlesbrough side, and you couldn't stop him after that. So he showed he could also pick them out of a rut.
Yeah,
I fancy Frank Lampard to do well this season. He's a good football man, and I don't think there's many people of my age who don't have a lot of respect for Frank Lampard as a footballer. And it would be nice to see him bring that in as a manager, because he's got all the attributes you'd probably want. Is he that kind of shouty leadership type? But by all accounts, in the dressing room he is. So let's see what he does. He's given himself a good chance anyway.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to look at with Coventry is, can their Championship players convert to the Premier League? Yeah, I'm looking at
Some can.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rodoni. I think he probably will. But Thomas and Kitchen at the back, are they going to be able to convert to the Premier League? Van Erwijk at right back, are they going to be able to convert? So there are players that I look at and go, you've got to make a step up. I'm not saying they can't make a step up, but that's what they need. They need to have that. And if you looked at Sunderland and Leeds last season, Ethan Ampadu stepped up. He immediately looked like a Premier League player. You look at Sunderland, you've got Ballard, Hume. They all stepped up and looked like Premier League players. So they need that. Fixtures. Right. Coventry's fixture list. I think they've been handed a really, really interesting sort of first 10 games. So they started Arsenal away, which is not ideal. Hardest game of the season. Probably playing Arsenal, though, at a pretty good time, but Arsenal was so good last weekend of the Community Shield that you sort of just think they're ready for the season. They've then got Hull at home. And the pressure on that game is so big, massive for both. And I think for Coventry it's higher. I think for Coventry it's huge, because if Coventry lose that game against Hull, their fan base will naturally, and I wouldn't blame them, their fan base will be going, this is not good. This is not good.
Oopsie daisy.
Then they've got City away. Awful set of away fixtures to start. Brighton at home, Forest away. So that rounds out up until the international break. Then after the international break, as with the other two teams, they've got a chance to win games. They've got Newcastle at home, Spurs away, Fulham at home, Sunderland at home, Everton away. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying, you know what? You can probably pick up 3 wins and a draw from that nice little run there after the international break.
Easy, yeah. I think Coventry, in regards to the fixtures, there's a realistic chance they could be on 13 points after that. Arsenal, I don't think it's a good time to play Arsenal, because I think that they're going to want to lay a marker down, saying, hang on a second, last year wasn't a fluke. And I think they've proven that quite a lot against Manchester City in the Community Shield, but still, they want to put a marker down. Hull City, they have to go and beat Hull. I don't think the draw's good enough for them at that point. They have to go and beat Hull and put their marker down, saying, yeah, we belong at this level. Manchester City away, not going to get much. Brighton, we don't know what to expect of Brighton this season, apart from there will be a good footballing side. Let's see how they can cope that one, but maybe get a point off that one. Forest away, there's a point available there. So you could be looking at 5 points by that stage. And then they'll fancy a chance against Newcastle United at home. That should be a win. Spurs away, you probably get beat at that one. Beat Fulham at home, beat Sunderland at home, maybe even get a point away at Everton. I mean, there could be a hell of a start for Coventry City there if Frank Lampard can get the right mix very, very quickly. You mentioned, obviously, Leeds United, it took Farke till December to really find a mix. If Coventry City, with them fixtures, Coventry City can find it early doors, and I think Frank Lampard is a good chance of doing it, they could be in a hell of a position after them fixtures.
And the other thing I like with Coventry's fixtures, right? Home fixtures. This is the first lot of home games, first 7. Hull, Brighton, Newcastle, Fulham, Sunderland, Palace, Ipswich. So I look at all them games. You could win. But the thing is, you could win 5, lose 1, draw 1. You get 16 points from that. That's going to give you a hell of a chance. Now, the double-edged sword of this is that Coventry end the season with an awful fixture list at home. They've got to play Liverpool, Bournemouth, Man City, Arsenal, Man United, Spurs and Forest. That's our last 7 home games. So I would look at that and I'd say, you have to, that first run of home games, you've got to do well in those home games, because you can't then, it's going to be very difficult for you to rely on home form at the end of the season when the fixtures look that difficult. So I'm looking at that with Coventry. I think that you've got to, from them 7 opening home games, you've got to try and pick up probably minimum 4 wins.
Yeah. I think if you look at the 3 promoted teams, Connor, if there's pressure on one side to make a good start to the season, based on fixtures alone, it's Coventry City. It's absolutely them. Because if they don't start well, it's that middle, especially if they haven't got the points come the end of the season to be competing, it would take like a Leicester City run to go and get them staying up at the end of the season, which probably isn't great because it's one of their rivals. But yeah, it's that's levels we're talking here. I think Coventry City, you have to have a better start than the promoted 3, purely on the fixtures alone. But again, the more I say it out loud, I have the confidence in Frank Lampard being able to set himself up to go and do that. And let's be honest, the crowd of Coventry are going to be so up for this. They've been starved of top-flight football for over 20 years now. There's generations of Coventry City fans who've never seen their team in the Premier League. So how up are these going to be? You're talking to people my age who are going to be well up for it, who have remember Coventry City as a Premier League side, but then you're talking all generations of kids who have never seen a team there. That stadium's going to be rocking begin this season. So everything's in place for them to go and do it. It's just that I think the question is, can the team go and do it? But I believe Frank Lampard will set them up to attack it as they can do. Do you know what? Now I'm talking more out loud about it, Connor. I'm giving Coventry City the best chance out with the promoted 3 of staying up.
Oh, there we go. I actually think as well, what all 3 of these teams need is the other ones to do well to start the season. Because if we are in a position where after the opening 10 games of the season, all 3 are sat on 10-ish points, that means that there's other teams in the Premier League that are going to be struggling, and that means there'll be decisions made. If you're one of the other clubs in the Premier League, can't afford to get relegated. You get off to a bit of a slow start, and the newly promoted teams are looking all right. There's going to be mad decisions. There'll be a Marinakis at Forest who makes a brash decision as he did last season. There's going to be, who's to say whether or not Fulham will change their manager. Newcastle, they've got a new manager. Will they be happy? Sunderland playing Europe, all that sort of stuff. If you get off to a good start, if all three of them get off to good starts, it puts masses of pressure on the other Premier League teams. And that then creates chaos. And that is why if I was Coventry, Ipswich, Hull, if I was a fan of those teams, you want the other ones to actually start all right, because I think that will then feed into the other Premier League teams panicking, which creates a relegation battle, and you need chaos to stay up. I don't think any of these teams will finish any higher than 15th. I think they're all going to be right in the mire of it all, and that means that they need chaos. They need chaos to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point, that, because you generally don't want your rivals to do well, but I think, all three promoted sides coming up and making an impact. Yeah, it creates chaos, but also it gives every other team a bit of confidence. Yeah, do you know what? We've all got a fighting chance here, and that will bring your spine players and your managers like the opportunity to really rally the troops and do what they need to do, because it's not just about quality of football. You've got to have an element of fight about you. The bottom half of the Premier League is about fight. It really, really is. They call it a relegation scrap for a reason. So. Yeah, I think it'll give some chaos will be a positive thing for these sides, but also confidence will do them the world of good.
Excellent. Okay, well, let us know in the comments below. Look, we've talked for 45 minutes. Hopefully, we've not talked utter nonsense. But let us know what you've made of what we've talked about. Yeah, what opportunity do you give these teams to survive? If you're a fan of one of these clubs, are we on the money? Are we miles off it? Let us know. And yeah, we'll see you again for another video. Thanks, Jimmy. Enjoy the opening weekend of the Premier League. Because this is our last recording point until probably next week. So we'll be back to review it all on Monday. So I'm looking forward to all of that. Although we do have a game on Monday night, to be fair. But we'll probably still record Monday and cover off through the night.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate the support. The channel's doing very well at the moment, and we're enjoying making these videos. So yeah, please stick around. Please like, please hype, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you soon.